They've won Tonys and Oscars and Emmys and Grammys. There's no red carpet 'cause they're home in their jammies. From Melrose Place to Broadway to Janeway and her crew. Let Seth and James bring all the stars to you.
Anywho,
they're entertaining everyone, so who's gonna grouse? Just sit right back and you'll hear some tales on Stars in the House.
He almost made it.
I tried. Hi, guys.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to Stars in the House. Seth was so busy getting clips.
Well,
Obsessed with clips. There's so many. It's literally
from.
for hours and hours.
It's an amazing show.
That's all that's been going on in our house. So, of course, Seth had to go get a drink and all of that, even though it was 8:01.
Shut up. Anyway, this is Stars in the House. Stars in the House began in March as a daily fundraiser for the Actors Fund, because the Actors Fund helps everybody in the arts, no matter what you do, in front of the camera, behind the camera, on stage, backstage. Wig makers, ushers, in theaters everywhere in the country, little tiny theaters.
Prop masters who make blood.
Yeah, prop masters who make blood, laser masters, anyone, no one is working. So you go to the Actors Fund, you say, I can't pay my rent, I can't pay my health insurance, I can't pay my doctor's bill.
And the whole thing with SAG-AFTRA that, you know, a lot of actors aren't going to be able to qualify for their health insurance beginning January 1st.
Yeah, so if you're
going to go to the Actors Fund.
People go to the Actors Fund, they ask for money. So if you need help, if you need money, Stephanie J. Block, which is not 2 days ago, she talked about how she could not pay her rent. Years ago when she wasn't paid for a gig and she basically was going to be evicted. So the Actors Fund paid her rent and some other bills. So you go to the actorsfund.org, say, I need help. But if you can give help, you can donate to Stars in the House. How do they donate, honey?
They go to starsinthehouse.com, or they can text Fund 2020 to 56512, and then you'll get a receipt from the Actors Fund. You'll forward it to donations at starsinthehouse.com, and Betty Lynn Buckley or Lindsay Hateley will be able to read your donation. And the donations this week, oh my gosh, Broadway fans, they really come through.
Wow.
I mean,
we've been raking it in for the Actors Fund.
Raking it in for the Actors Fund. We are up to, we don't have the total for yesterday, but as of Thursday night, $442,185.
And by the way,
amazing.
That's often, so everything you donate, there's no overhead that we take out. We do it from just basically private. We have like someone that's helping us. Well, basically SiriusXM.
Right.
So everything you donate goes directly to the Actors Fund.
100% of what you donate goes to the Actors Fund. Absolutely.
The other thing we want to say is just, if you're watching right now, can you subscribe to our channel?
Oh, right.
We have so many more reunions coming up. So subscribe to the YouTube channel. Plus, copy and paste the address, and if you, like, go to Twitter and Facebook and say, oh my God, I'm watching a Carrie reunion. Everyone should watch. So everyone should watch. And by the way, someone just put in the comments that Carrie right now is on TV. But don't watch it, because we're talking about it here. We actually have the guy that literally wrote the movie, that amazing movie, Larry Cohen's here.
Yes.
So is there anything else we have to cover?
I don't think so. You know what? Just because, let's, you know, the census is really important. And if you haven't filled it out, 2020census.gov.
ASAP.
And ask your friends, ask your family if they've done it. It is super important. That's all I'll say.
Thank you. Don't forget those donations, starsinthehouse.com or text Fund 2020, and then forward the receipt you get to the new address we have now, donations@starsinthehouse.com. Okay, let us first bring on, we're going to first bring on the brilliant creative team behind Carrie. Some of them were just here when we had our Fame reunion very recently. That's right. So the lovely former Pippin, Dean Pitchford.
Hi, Dean.
Hi.
Hi there.
I want to say your Wi-Fi is amazing, but I'm assuming it's going to get better very soon. It's going to get better, I hope. It's fine.
Look at that. It just got a little bit better.
It did just get better. And we have the composer and the book writer himself. We have Larry Cohen, Michael Gore. Hi.
Hi, guys.
How are you?
Everybody's wearing glasses. What up with that?
Time goes by.
Larry, let's start with you, because you wrote the screenplay. How did that, to the movie Carrie, how did that come about?
Long story short, I got a job while I was reviewing theater and movies for the Hollywood Reporter and living in New York, for the grand total of $5 a review. I needed another job. I went to work as a reader for a producer, TV and film producer in New York. And one day I came back from lunch to find a slim little manuscript by a first-time novelist and a school teacher in Maine, which turned out to be Carrie. I went insane for it. Wrote glowing coverage, did everything I could to campaign for them to make it. My producer boss hated it. And I then went to every studio I could figure out, and they all had the same reaction, which was no one was interested in buying it, even after the rights for the paperback sold for $400,000. They still weren't interested. I went off to produce another movie, and long story short, I moved to LA, got put together with another producer who ended up being, out of pure destiny, the producer who had optioned the Book of Carrie. And that was a bit of serendipity. And he ended up hiring me to write the script. So we had a good start. We went into turnaround about 24 hours later after I turned in the draft. Another studio picked it up. And it was fraught with one uphill battle after another, which was sort of the story of Carrie, because we all think about Stephen King as the king of horror and an overnight success. It wasn't that way then, and it wasn't that way in all of the incarnations really of Carrie.
Such a brilliant movie. Now, we've already asked Larry, we want to set up an actual Carrie reunion of the film. So that means Larry will be back and Betty Buckley will be back because she was the gym teacher. But I just want one quick question, because I love the book and I love the film and I love the changes you made. Two questions are, why did you change, by the way, spoiler alert, Carrie's on right now. Why did you change Margaret White's death in the movie? Because it was more visual to have the knives coming at her?
Yeah, De Palma looked at me as we were approaching that sequence, and being an incredibly visceral director and an exciting director, he said, "So she stops her heart, that's it, boom?" And I went, "Yeah, that's it. It's called acting." And he went, "We got another plan for this." And he came up with the notion. He told me the idea over a dinner. I looked at him and thought he was absolutely crazy that she was going to look like a porcupine. And he said, no, it's in this great Kurosawa movie, and it's done there in a battle sequence. And trust me, it's going to be amazing. And it took a fairly long time to shoot, but it was exactly what he claimed he could deliver, which was true of De Palma, period.
Wow.
Okay, I have more about that, but my second question is, how did you come up with basically the scariest ending of a movie ever? It is so scary. And then you combine it with that music. Who wrote the music for it also? Michael, you didn't write that music, did you? To the
Did not. No, not. A really brilliant musician, composer named Pino Donaggio, who did Don't Look Now, the Nick Rogue film, and a lot of Brian's other movies. Initially, Bernard Herrmann was supposed to do the movie, and scored Taxi Driver, died the night he finished it, and that's how we got to Pino Donaggio.
Wow.
Who came up with the hand?
In all fairness, there were 5, 6, 7 endings in the course of the last month of working. One with Sue in a mental asylum, having had a nervous breakdown. A lot of other interesting ideas that ended up being reused along the way. Brian came over to me while we were shooting one day at the studio, and he said, "I've got the ending." And I said, "Great, go ahead." And I was sitting on a stool. He came over to me as close as he possibly could and described it beat by beat by beat. And then when the hand came up, he clutched my leg and I let out a yelp and I went, "Done, period." And it was really an idea from Deliverance. It was an idea that he had seen there and thought could work much better than it had worked in Deliverance as a dream sequence, but with great visual power. So, watching it with 500 people in a movie theater on Halloween Eve and watching them all lose their popcorn and their drinks in the air as they thought they were about to go home, that was great.
Oh, it's such an amazing surprise. And Larry's basically the king of horror. He also wrote that It miniseries for TV, that amazing one. Anyway, so we'll talk more about that later.
Michael, so did you see the movie and you were like, "Oh, of course this is going to be a musical"?
Not exactly. I mean, Larry and I were together when he did the movie, and we went to the opening, and I loved the movie. Long story short, after I had done Fame with Dean, Larry and I were living in New York. We went one night to the Metropolitan Opera. Alban Berg's Lulu with Julie McGuinness was playing, which is a wonderfully dark piece, slightly scary, Jack the Ripper. Anyway, it was one of these incredible nights. It went on for until midnight, and we walked out of the Met. We were walking down the stairs, and I said to Larry, if Alban Berg were alive today and writing for the Met, he'd be doing Carrie as an opera. Wow. And there was this sort of silence, and we continued down the stairs, and we went off to dinner, And we must have had dinner until 3 o'clock in the morning. And, you know, long story short, we realized it wasn't an opera. It really, because of the operatic elements of the mother and daughter, and because of the high school elements, it really, really would be great as a musical. So that's how it started.
Michael, so how soon then did you call Dean and say, let's try to do this as a musical?
So the first thing we did was Larry picked up the phone and called Steve King and said, hey, what do you think about this? We would really like to do this. And Steve said to Larry.
There was a very long pause, and Michael and I both thought he'd hung up. And he said, you know, if you can do an opera about a barber who slits people's throats and then feeds them, you know, in pies, and you can do an opera about a dictator, incredible fashionable woman in Buenos Aires, why not? I get it, go. And he gave us his blessing.
So he was very supportive and said, absolutely, I'm behind this. This would be great. And of course, the first call that I made, Dean and I had just had huge success on Fame. Right. And I called Dean and I said, you know, this is something that we're thinking about. Is it something you would like to do?
And Dean, what did you say?
I got it immediately. You know, I did. I got it immediately. I had, you know, before turning to writing, I had spent years on Broadway as a performer. Yeah. And before that, I had aspired to Broadway since growing up in Honolulu. So I had seen all the many changes and the musicals that Larry just described, Stephen King citing. And it felt to me as if we had arrived at a time when that was the next step. Broadway could handle that. Mm-hmm. And I mean, these guys will attest, I was in the room. I said yes.
Wow.
And how did you go about writing it? You know, I'm always so fascinated, like because the music is so beautiful and the lyrics are so perfect for it. How did you guys do it? Like, was Open Your Heart first a poem and then you put it to music, Michael?
You know, I think first of all, Larry, although a lot of it was musicalized, Larry created the full scenes for us. And I think the first scene, Dean, if I'm not mistaken, was "And Eve Was Weak." And Larry basically wrote out the entire scene and created the shape of it. And then we started to live with it and kind of work from there. And as I recall, I think that was the first number that we worked on together. We were, by the way, Dean was living in LA at that time. I was living in New York. We were working on other movies. We were traveling a lot. So, you know, I have a story about being in France. You know, Larry and I were in a hotel in the south of France. Remember what a telex was? That's how far back it goes. But it's how you sent, you know, the equivalent of faxes when people sent them. Anyway, Dean was working on the lyric to Carrie. And all I can remember is this guy coming to our room like he was so freaked out. All of this stuff was coming through the telex about Carrie and about her mother. And he thought it was real. He had no idea that it was a lyric. He had no idea what was going on. We had a very, I'll tell you, there have been a lot of ups and downs on this project, a lot of them. But the one thing that was consistently great was the writing of the piece. And that's really what kept us going. We really, really had a good time writing.
But it took us, you know, close to 4 years with our other movies, TV jobs, other things that we were doing, because that was what was paying the rent. And so we stole time whenever Dean was in New York or we were in LA, and a number got written, another number got written, until in 1984, or the beginning of it, we had a complete one-act, first-act version that was completed to enough satisfaction that the three of us really wanted to see it up on its feet and see actually what it looked like. So as a result, we ended up through some casting director friends and some other industry friends getting the agents to submit every client who was remotely interested in doing a 5-day reading together. Michael Bennett, who was an old friend and helped me tremendously. I assisted him on a couple of Broadway projects. He ended up giving us a room down at 890, and we put together this remarkable cast who offered their services from Annie Golden to Maureen McGovern to, I mean, it goes on.
Donna Murphy.
Donna Murphy in a small chorus role. Nothing. No big deal.
And the amazing thing was, it was so early. Workshops really hadn't really existed the way they exist today during that time period. We really did it ourselves. I mean, the three of us, I was at the piano, Dean was directing, Larry was narrating, we got the cast together, and we just tried it. I mean, we didn't have producers, we didn't have anybody, and finally we did a dress rehearsal, and a couple of friends came in and said, you really should invite some of the theater people down. So we said, okay, we'll do like 3 readings of it, which all went extremely well. And after 3 readings, all of a sudden, like every theater owner, and every producer was sort of after us to be part of it.
Wow.
But you didn't set out to do that when you did the reading.
No. In all honesty, the reading for us was, we had spent, 4 years, just in our apartments and, writing together. We really wanted to hear how it sounded and how it worked and reacted in front of an audience. So we really did it for that purpose. It was not really to sell it, but we were very lucky, and that's really sort of what started things off. And one of our sort of angels that came was as you probably remember, a very well-known agent in New York, Sam Cohen. And he came to one of the readings and he just thought this was like one of the greatest pieces. And he said, I want to help you guys put it together. Wow. So we then embarked on a wild set of meetings. First with Mike Nichols.
Every A-list director that he represented, which was substantial, he brought up to the conference room at ICM. We played the hour tape. Michael played some stuff live. The first person in the room was Mike Nichols. And Mike Nichols was charming, elegant, incredibly attentive. And when it was done, he looked at us and he said, boys, you've done absolutely fantastic work. And it's going to be a huge hit. And I'm not going to do it. And we looked at him and went, why not?
Right.
And he said, very simply, I saw the movie. I didn't want her to go to the prom. And I'm hearing it now. And I still don't want her to go to the prom. And it very much clearly traumatized him in some way that he was not getting near this material. And he had a very strong commercial instinct for essentially happy pieces, certainly as musicals.
And then number 2 was Bob Fosse, who came in, and we did the same thing for Bob Fosse in the conference room at ICM, at the piano with the tape, Sam was with his pencil conducting along as the tape was going. It was hilarious. And at the end, there were 2 interesting things. Bob Fosse turned to Sam and said, I like it, but I think it has to be much darker. At which point Larry and I sort of looked at each other and went, And then his final comment was, my only other thought is that the music is really great, but it seems really rangy for dancers.
That is true.
And we went, exactly. And, he clearly saw the show that it would be all dancers who could kind of sing. Right. So, and again, long story short, Sam called one day and, it's just how weird these things are and how they happen. He said, one of my clients is coming to New York with the Royal Shakespeare Company, and they were doing Much Ado About Nothing and Cyrano kind of back to back, and it was Terry Hands.
On Broadway.
On Broadway.
And Michael and I immediately responded, nope. And he was shocked and stunned at the other end of the phone. And he said, why would you possibly not want Terry Hands? And we told him basically that we had seen Terry's one musical, which was Poppy at the RSC, and had walked out at the interval. And I had seen an opera of his that I'd left at the interval. And he didn't really seem to know too much about musicals. Sam said, listen to me, just do this for me as a favor. Sit down with him, meet him, no harm, no foul, but I think you'll enjoy him. So Terry came up to the apartment and we did the same dog and pony show we had now done, 8 times with other directors. And he smoked, I would say, about 2 cartons of cigarettes nonstop and drank 2 entire pots of black coffee, and was very quiet, which was his nature. And he looked at us and said, I had no idea what to expect when I came up to hear this, but I love it. And he proceeded to talk, I don't know, an hour and a half about its tragic background and what it meant to him in terms of the tragedies that he directed. He liked every single thing about it. And he was one of the smartest people in terms of talking. I think the 3 of us are pretty smart and a pretty good judge of things. This guy had all of us at hello. So that's sort of how we got there, contrary to all instincts going in.
And then of course the thing that sealed the deal was, we still had questions, and he's not really musical, and we really need a musical director. They offered us the follow-up slot to Les Mis. And that was the thing that, it was, in retrospect, I wish we could have said no to that, but we went home and went, how could you not agree to doing the follow-up to Les Mis at the Royal Shakespeare Company in Stratford, and then moving it, and as a result, we were in.
Wow, it's all right. It's such a fascinating history. So, by the way, someone just wrote, Seth and James, Larry Cohen was writing a book about all this history of Carrie. Will it ever come out?
And the answer is ever.
Excellent answer. Okay, so creative team, I told the cast, I said, they're going to go when you guys come on, and they were all like, wait, we want to talk to them, wait, we want to say hi. So will you guys wait a little bit and just say hi to the cast? Because
we're fine. We're fine to do it.
Okay, so you may remember some of these fabulous people. Here she is, direct from London, although she's in New York right now, the lovely Sally Ann Triplett.
Oh my God.
Hello, Lindsay. How are you? I saw these 2 earlier.
Oh, we did. We chatted up during the sound check. So.
Exactly.
I love these.
Good girl. Sally played the good girl Sue, and here's the bad girl.
Oh.
Charlotte Dubois.
I was the one emailing Seth. Why can't we say hello? Why can't we say hello? Hi, you guys.
Hi, Charlie. You look beautiful. You look great.
You guys are so great. I've been, posting a lot of stuff, and so I've been reminiscing and going on YouTube and looking at stuff, and such amazing memories, and how brilliant you guys are, and it just brought everything back again in such a positive way. Seriously.
Oh, how great!
Thank you.
Great to see you.
So great to see you.
Okay, and then you may know her. She actually is direct from London, and this is a live show. Everybody watching right now, this is live in London. So let's ask Carrie herself, what time is it in London, Miss Lindsay Hateley?
Sorry.
In the dressing room.
Hi, Linz.
Hi.
How great to see you.
It's 1:30 in the morning.
What time is it?
1:30 in the morning.
1:30. Oh wait, Lindsay, your mic is so soft. Maybe bring it closer to your face.
Oh, hang on a
I
minute.
don't know why.
Should I just get closer?
That's not weird at all. Better-ish.
Better.
And finally, direct from Texas, she's a cowgirl, and she also knows how to beat the hell out of Lindsay and hit some high E flats. The amazing Ms. Betty Buckley.
Hi, guys.
Hey,
Everybody. Oh my God. Everybody looks awesome.
Everybody still looks great. I don't know. It didn't kill any of us. Everybody looks like they did years ago. You all look great.
It's amazing.
Amazing.
Everyone looks the same as in this picture from London.
Oh, just yeah.
Wow.
Bravo.
Oh my God.
How great.
Oh my God. Oh my God. Look at us. Some people aren't with us anymore. Oh, I know. Some of them, I know.
That's from Lindsay's personal collection. Thank you, Lindsay.
Wow.
That's okay. I was
We had a few good ones.
digging out some old memories.
So first of all, I want to warn you guys, on this platform, if anyone talks at the same time, unfortunately, all the sound stops. So I have to completely contain
Go against his nature.
It's so hard. So just beware if you talk at the same time. So Larry, so especially Michael Gore, when you were writing the score, were you thinking of Betty's voice? Because talk about rangy. Like, to me, it's like, who the hell else could have belted those high notes? And I know, Dean, you knew Betty from doing Pippin with her. So how did Betty come into the mix?
You know, I think we always felt strongly about Betty. You know, she was in line, you know, to do the production. And unfortunately, the negotiations ended up breaking down during it. And that's just one of those horrible things that happens with agents and managers and lawyers. So, look, we've always been huge fans of Betty and of Betty's voice. And, you know, I'm sure there are aspects, certainly hitting those, you know, high E flats in full chest. And, you know, there are very few people who are able to do it. And she is certainly one of them. I mean, I remember to this day, Betty's audition. Terry had flown in from London, and we went to a small rehearsal room of all places up on 72nd Street that was upstairs. Very, very live sound, and Betty sang, and I swear she almost blew the roof off of the rehearsal room. I mean, it was absolutely thrilling. Like yesterday, I remember it.
Yeah, you can't talk. Betty, do you remember your audition?
No, I don't remember auditioning. I remember they called me and said, we've written this new musical with you in mind, and in the film Carrie, and I was like, I was so rude, but I knew them very well. But I just said, why? You know, because I didn't get it at all. And but Dean and I were very, very close friends, and I worked with Larry in the film. I didn't really know Michael that well, except by association with Dean. And I was Dean's date to a lot of the big fancy occasions, including the Oscars for Fame. So I was there to watch them win. It was really very exciting. So I didn't understand it much. And then I do remember very clearly my meeting, an introductory meeting with Terry Hams. And I felt very uncomfortable with him because he was asking me very specific questions. Like, he said, Trevor Nunn, who they were very close friends, tells me that you're afraid of heights. And I was like, no, I'm not afraid of heights, because they were going to have to fly me, or they had a thought of flying me in the musical and stuff. But when we had done Cats, I had a contractual phrase in my contract saying that they would insure me because they described this machine that I had to go up on and stuff. So they had to buy me an insurance policy. And apparently this became something that Terry got wind of. So he was very challenging and very pointed and like really kind of confronting me. And I was really rather taken aback by it. Later on, I became, you know, a great admirer of his, and of course was an admirer of who he was and what his body of work was about. But I didn't like the way he was challenging me on that. And I was like, these are my friends. I think you have a wonderful project. I would love to do if you'd like me to do it, but I don't know the purpose of this conversation. So we didn't feel really comfortable with each other after that meeting, or at least that was my experience. But we all had the same agent, which was Sam Cohen, which is a very strange thing because
oh my God,
he was really in charge of that negotiation, and then it all fizzled. But I think fundamentally I was not sure anyway because of that original meeting with Terry Hams, which put me kind of like, wait, what's going on? But he turned out to be, you know, very nice. And when I finally came aboard right before the Broadway experience. So then Dean and the guys contacted me when they were in London and saying they would like me to fly over to see the show. Because apparently, I don't know all the details of that, but apparently Barbara was unhappy, Barbara Pitt, the great Barbara Pitt. And so I was willing to do that. And then they called to say, no, we were just going to send you some video of the show. And so I saw some pieces from the show, and Sam called me, and they were apparently the deadline was coming for them to make a commitment to come into Broadway. And I remember the day Sam called me and said, listen, Betty, if you don't go in, all these people will be out of work. So I've made this deal. And I was like, okay. I'll go in because these are my friends. And so I made it, said I would go in. And that happened literally like a day or two before rehearsal started.
Yeah.
So it was very, very strange, the whole process of finally getting to a project that my friends had told me that they had written with me in mind. So I was like, it was awkward to say the least, but.
So the just a part of it that you guys didn't probably really know about was a meeting that happened at the RSC at Terry Hand's office and with our German producer. We had really a crew there, let me tell you. And they talked about going to Broadway, and we all looked at the producers and said, no, we'd rather close the show. We'll only go under one condition, if Betty agrees to do it on Broadway.
Oh, wow. How wonderful to hear. Thank you.
You were the deal breaker.
No, you were. We actually were ready to let the show close and to put it to the side. Look, that the 80s were a really fertile period for us. I had done Fame with Dean. I got 3 nominations and 2 awards. I had done Terms of Endearment. Dean had done Footloose. Larry had done Carrie. We had all done a lot of successful things. So this was very, very hard to see something that just didn't come out the way we were hoping it would come out.
Yeah.
And we actually almost thought about, just putting it to the side, letting it be. But there was one thing, and I said the only way we would do this is if Betty would consider doing it for Broadway, and that's how it ended up continuing and how we went to Broadway with it.
Oh my God, I love that.
That's a wonderful story. Thank you for sharing.
So I have a
question though. One of the rumors that I've never asked you guys whether this happened or not, but I understand that Barbara was very unhappy in the show and uncomfortable. I don't know all the reasons for that, but I understand also, or at least I was told, that she didn't love the ballad that Margaret sings, though, When There's No One, and she didn't want to do it. Is that true?
So, the interesting thing was when it didn't work out with Betty and the deal fell apart, the notion of Barbara Cook came up. And of course, Barbara has done amazing work. And we thought, wow, this is a really interesting idea. The reality that I found, and Seth, you'll understand this as a composer, pianist, conductor, is that the lyrical stuff in the show, she did a very good job with. The things that were forceful with the high E flats, and it was weak, the bigger numbers, I remember How Those Boys Could Dance. She sang it for me once, full out, and literally turned to me and said, I hope you like it. You're never going to hear that again.
Oh, wow.
And that was actually the truth. She did everything with her light voice, and it wasn't that she did anything wrong with the part. It just really wasn't a great fit. And I think that she felt and realized that the fit was not great. And I think she just wanted to move on.
Also, I want to point out, we wrote When There's No One in England. We were in rehearsal. We were in Stratford, I think.
Yes.
And Margaret had all this belty stuff in Act 1, and we felt we needed to service our diva. And we wrote When There's No One specifically for that float.
Well, by the way,
did she not like it? Because that's what I heard, because I think it's one of the most beautiful things in the show. Did she like it? Yeah.
Lindsay?
I remember her loving it.
Oh, good. So then that's just rumor.
Yeah.
I've been incredulous about that all these years. I was like, how could she not have loved that song? Because I think it's the most so beautiful.
My memory.
Guys, I just think she was generally nervous. It was her first return to the stage in a show as opposed to a concert in, 11 or 12 years. Yeah. So her nerves were very near the surface constantly. And any little thing sent her in a worried direction. So
Right.
She was also very daunted by the physicality. As Betty will tell you, this was an amazingly physical role. It was a bear of a role 8 times a week, not only singing, but running around the stage and slinging Lindsay from one end of the stage to the other and slamming her in the closet. It was an enormously draining show. And when we were in rehearsal with Barbara Cook, she marshaled her resources very wisely. She knew exactly how much she could do. She would show up just in time for rehearsal. She would just do as much rehearsal. She would leave. When we got into performances, she was very, very careful about how much time she spent. It was hard. And Betty, Betty came in. I think, Betty, you were 15 years younger than Barbara.
I don't know what the age difference was, but I just remember Lindsay and I working our asses off in rehearsal, and then we would share a car home after rehearsals every day, and we would just like sprawl in the back of the car, completely physically exhausted and drained. But I'll tell you this for sure. Besides my love for all you guys, Lindsay, Hateley, and I are bonded for life through that experience. It's like it was like going through. I can't even describe whether it was like the wars or something, but it's like when I see her name or I see her face, my heart expands so big, because I have never worked with another human being who availed themselves and opened themselves to me with such heart. And we created such an incredible, I am so proud of the work we did on the mother-daughter sequences of that show. I feel to this day that no one had ever done anything like that in the musical theater. No one had heard that kind of music that was operatic. And that story of this, really confused, emotionally disturbed mother who, was an abusive mother to this beautiful, gifted girl. It's never been told. I'm just really proud of the groundbreaking work we all did on that.
And can I point out that when you were doing that with Lindsay was 17 years old.
17 in her first big Broadway show. And her first night, the first performance. I'll never forget it. I'm backstage getting ready to come on for that Open Your Heart. And Lindsay is out there singing her number, and she stopped the show cold. And I'm backstage thinking, oh my God, she just stopped the show cold. It was like amazing. The thing about Carrie that was so remarkable were people that were lucky enough to be present for that original Broadway production saw something the likes of which they'd never or never will again see. And the audiences went nuts. They were insane, and people would talk to us during the show. Things would happen. It was just insane. But it was like an amazing, amazing ride.
Betty, tell them about the first preview when the lights went out and the response.
Oh, that was so crazy. You want to tell it? Because I'll try to.
You tell it.
Hold on.
Betty and Lindsay, we need to take our little medical break right here.
You guys have to,
but hold right there. We want to pick up right there.
You have to prepare for a long show because there's so much we have to talk about. So just take your pee break right now.
That's right.
Because I've got to cover so much with this show. So we're going to do our medical break, and then everyone's going to come back. So everyone quickly go run to the bathroom, all of our stars, and please come back, including our creators. There's so much to talk about and so many clips to play. Okay, I'll see you guys soon. Bye. Bye. Hey, Lindsay, I would log off and log back on. It's maybe going to make your microphone louder. So log back on because you're kind of stuck. So I'm going to log you out and then just log back on.
There you go.
Okay, right. The lovely Charlotte, you'll be back. Everyone go pee. Sally Ann, go pee in your Upper West Side apartment. The Gore, Cohens. And speaking of Upper West Side in Vermont, here's the lovely Dr. John LaPook.
The Upper West Side of Vermont, yes. Give peas a chance. Oh my gosh. What's up, guys?
Everything's good. I mean, I'm obsessed with this show. It's a very thrilling night for me. Yeah. What's up with you? What's happening? Any mask updates? What?
No, you know what I want to do? I want to get serious about returning to Broadway. I have had some discussions behind the scenes, let's just say, about right now all these buildings are dark. We know that the ventilation in these buildings is not adequate. Forget about the fact that there aren't enough women's bathrooms. But there are steps that can be taken to improve the ventilation of these buildings. There's a whole health buildings program up at the T.H. Chan School of Public Health at Harvard. There are people who are experts in this. It would be a shame to waste this opportunity when you could be going into these buildings, doing all sorts of renovations. I know it takes money, but think about what Broadway brings to the economy. I think that we have to turn up the flame a little bit on this. I've done some talking behind the scenes. I've heard a lot of that's a good idea. But now that we know, especially that aerosols are important, that spread indoors, a lot more likely you're going to pick it up indoors, COVID, than outdoors. That 6 feet indoors is not necessarily a safe distance. How are you going to get people to come from out of town to New York City to go to Broadway? Especially they tend to be older. It's an expensive ticket. How are you going to make them comfortable to be sitting next to somebody, even in January, February, March, April? When's that going to be? So I think it's going to be. Huh?
I was going to say, you have to do the equivalent of what the airlines have done, saying, okay, these are the steps 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 that we've done, and it can't just be hand sanitizer at the front door.
I totally agree, and it's going to be layers of protection. It's not, no one thing is going to be the answer. We're going to have the vaccine. I think the vaccine, I'm an optimist. It's going to be successful. We don't know how much. Is it going to be 60% protective, 70%? What is that going to be? There are going to be masks. You're seeing all these clever masks now being made, really much better masks. Ones that, from Israel's talking about having like nanoparticles, catching the virus. I mean, there's all sorts of really interesting. We have amazing biomedical engineering capability in the world, but certainly in the United States. We can make a better mask that protects the person wearing it and the person who, is in the room if you're infected, to stop you from infecting them. We can improve the ventilation. We can put UV filters, UV lights in the duct system. We can put particulate filters that are either expensive, the ones that major companies make, or the ones perhaps that you could make cheaper. There have been some articles by aerosol scientists about a $30 fan, and then you get a sheet of HEPA filter from Home Depot, say, and you slap it on, and you've got. So I think that it's just a matter of saying this is a high priority. But I'm seeing a lot of right now. I want to turn up the heat. I think we're wasting an opportunity right now. So whoever's out there listening, who's connected to the people who own the theaters, I think we got to talk. And I'm happy to be involved.
I'll put you on an email with the owners. I'll do that after the show. I love it because what you're saying is medically sound. If you want Broadway to come back without it then closing again a month later, make the changes now while the theaters are empty. So excellent.
And as Deborah said, the city has a vested interest in this.
Yeah, it's actually good economics. It's I mean, in terms of the return on the dollar. Oh my gosh, I have had one conversation with one of the owners, somebody in that family. But I think we got to go farther, and we got to go harder at it.
John, one question that's not related to that, but before we bring back Carrie, because I think this is a big question for teachers. I bought an air purifier for my classroom. Is that a good step?
I think that is a good step, depending upon which one it is. It's got to be a filter that has a certain level, like a MERV 13 or a HEPA filter. I have actually proposed that to a major health official today. I've done it a few times, but literally, as they say on Parks and Rec, literally, today I sent an email to a major public health official saying, why don't we do just that? Whether it's an expensive one or a less expensive one that you put together with the fan and the HEPA filter material. But I mean, think about it. You could get corporations to donate.
Right.
Private, there should be one in every schoolroom. And even if, again, like in the theaters, it's not going to be perfect, but it's another layer of of protection.
Right.
And I think psychologically it would be a great step. So I think the answer is yes.
All right, excellent. Well,
thank you, Dr. LaPook. I'm going to email you later tonight. Talk to you soon.
Have a great weekend, rest of the weekend.
Peace
You
out.
too. Take care.
Bye.
Let's first check Miss Hateley's mic. Lindsay,
Hello.
oh my God, a million times better.
Hey!
Yay!
Yay. Okay, Charlotte's coming back. She's in a full split. Hi,
She
Charles.
really was, Charlotte.
Charlotte,
As
you're
you're
in a full
sitting down,
split.
it's like, wow.
You still got it. And the triple. Hi, Sal's. Not there.
On the wall.
I don't know
I'm
what
trying to make it
happened.
look like I live here. I'm moving home to London.
Oh my God.
Like, God, and Phantom of the Opera. I'm losing. Give me a break.
Lovely Betsy Buckles, and of course our fabulous lyric writer, and Larry and Michael. And I just texted you, Sally Ann, I just texted you donations to read. We've been getting them. I've been forgetting to text. So read your phone. These are some of the donations we just got.
Okay. We have got Drew from New Jersey, $25. I sent a fan letter to Dean a while ago, and he was so kind to me. And the only 19-year-old I know with a 1988 opening night Carrie playbill. Amazing. Michael from Nevada, $50. Why from Pennsylvania, $25. Benjamin from Tennessee, $10. Ryan from Louisiana, $77. I directed Carrie at the high school where I teach, and it's been my most popular show. Love you all. And the last one is Brendan from Rhode Island, $100. It's my 55th birthday, and I can't think of a better way to spend it than watching the Carrie reunion and helping out the Actors Fund.
Oh,
I love it all.
Wonderful.
So Lindsay, now that we can hear you, how the hell were you snatched out of a lunchroom onto a Broadway stage? How did it happen?
I was at a theatre school in London called Italia Conti, and I was. They basically had an agency attached to the school where they would send children for auditions for things, and I'd never been for anything. I was kind of a chubby kid who sort of sang well, but just there was never anything that I was particularly right for. And then it came in, they were looking for sort of a teenage girl with a good voice to play the part of Carrie. So they sent me along. I went to the London Palladium, and from what I remember, I sang on my own because I was obsessed with Frances Raffel at the time. And I remember doing a dance audition on the London Palladium stage with all the amazing dancers that were all around me, and they're all really leggy and gorgeous. And I'm thinking, oh, I'm going to be one of them. And then I sort of very quickly realised that maybe I looked slightly different. So I did a bit of dancing with Debbie Allen, and then I sang for the creative team. And then I think I was called back the next day to sort of do a bit of work on the Carrie material. And I seem to remember doing a bit of the Carrie, the title song. And as soon as I heard it, it blew me away. I just thought, I just thought it was just absolutely amazing. It just gave me, such a kick. It was unbelievable. And then the following day was my 17th birthday. Wow. And I was called up to the agency. And I went up to the agency and I walked through the doors, and they gave me a birthday card, and then they said, "Happy birthday, Carrie." And I got Carrie on my 17th birthday.
Oh, wow.
Oh, wow.
Lindsay, do they have the equivalent of proms in London or in England?
They do now, but I mean, I have to say, that there are so many things that you could kind of go, why? I think in hindsight, even though, of course, I'm absolutely thrilled in so many ways that I got the chance to play Carrie and to work with some phenomenal people. But I actually think it should have been done possibly with Americans because they have an understanding of it is a very American piece. And I think that, I think where it struggled, particularly with Terry and the whole Stratford thing, was that there was for me, one of the wonderful things about Carrie was that it gave the opportunity for English and American people to combine together and work together, which, you don't have that very often, that sort of opportunity. But on the flip side of that is that we do things differently, and we all get to the same result, but we get to it in different ways. And I think that, the whole process at the RSC was, maybe it just wasn't the right way of doing Carrie. But I think I'm glad that it happened, because obviously it then gave me the chance to particularly work with Betty in New York, and that's obviously been You know, for all the things that I feel like have affected me because of Carrie, you know, a lot of good came out of it as well.
I'm glad it happened too. Now, by the way, speaking of, oh yeah, I was waiting. Did you want to say something, Larry, before I said something?
I do, just to say to Lindsay, you were one of the single happiest moments at the audition that you did for the three of us. We had seen dozens of young women in New York, dozens in London, and the three of us as creators were despairing that we would ever find the person that was in our head when this was written. You walked on, the three of us looked at each other and went, thank you, thank you, thank you. And that was, I can't tell you, like Betty's audition, we both remember yours. We all remember yours the same way. So
can I also just jump in here for a second and just remind us all that before you danced for Debbie Allen, you came in to sing for us. And when you came in to sing for us, you were wearing heels and your hair was up and you had mascara on. You were, I guess, trying to look older than 16 going on 17. And the first thing that we did, you sang, we went, oh my God. And then we basically said, take your hair down, get out of your heels, step down on the floor, sing again. And that's when we knew.
Yeah, well, I remember you. I remember you being so gorgeous, and you taking me to one side and saying, "Now, if you just take your hair down and maybe take a bit of makeup off, and then come back in again and have another go." And you're absolutely right. I was just thinking, you know, I'm only 16. You know, no one's going to employ me unless I look a bit older. So I just make myself look as old as I possibly can. And of course, got in there, and you're like, "No, just look yourself."
I want to go back to. What'd you say?
She looked like Joan Collins.
Well, exactly. 2 pairs of lashes. I want to go back to When There's No One we were discussing before, because literally a half hour before or an hour before Places tonight, we made a last-minute recording, and by we, this is Margaret White, literally an hour and a half ago, doing this beautiful song. I haven't even seen it yet, so let's all enjoy Act 2's ballad, which we now know Barbara Cook did like, but Betty Buckley likes more. Here, let's watch.
When there's no one, there is darkness. When the light that used to shine that once was mine no longer glows. And there is no sun, and there's no one. When the song dies, there is silence. When the tune that filled my days no longer plays, the room is still, and there are long sighs. When the song dies, was I so foolish to think I could pray when there's only one chance I can save you? I gave you life, I can take it away. Let the shadows descend like a knife. But when I am all alone, will I cry, Carrie? Oh, my Carrie. Who will hold me when there's no one? When the smiles I used to see are not for me, what will I do? Nobody's told me. Who will hold me? There is no sun when there's no one.
Wow. Oh my God.
Wow.
Wow.
You still sound great, Betty. You still sound. Wow.
Oh, wow.
Unexpected tonight. I didn't expect that. How great is that? What a treat. Wow.
He sounds like, what?
I kind of
and then he says, here's
the last second.
And I
Well, it's a perfect song with the perfect singer. I mean, that doesn't always happen, and it did. That did with that song.
Oh man.
Thank you.
Okay. Wow. We got to talk about the sidekicks. Sally and Triplett. How did it happen? Weren't you like Eurostar or something? What were you doing?
I was in Follies at the Shaftesbury Theatre, and I'd been in the show for about 6 months with Julie Mackenzie, Diana Rigg, Dolores Gray. It was an amazing show to be in, and I heard about this show. I didn't have an agent at the time, and I heard about this show that was possibly going to Broadway, and so I just went up for it. I did the same thing as Lindsay. I went to the Palladium, and I did improvised dancing for Debbie Allen.
Right.
Job. And then, of course, I had this other job that I was doing. So I went up to the wonderful Mike Ockrent, the director of Follies, who's no longer with us. He was the most incredible, generous man. I stopped him on the stairs of the Shaftesbury and I said, Mike, I've been asked to do this show, and it's not in the ensemble, it's a part. And he just didn't bat an eyelid. He said, you must go. You must go. So they released me from Follies, and then I did Carrie, which sort of lasted about 6 months, I guess. I was living on a boat on the 79th Street boat basin on the
Oh my
west
gosh.
side. Yeah, drinking Coronas and, doing the odd other thing. And somebody walked along the towpath and said, is there someone here called Sally Ann Triplett? And I said, yeah, that's me. And they said, could you ring Cameron McIntosh? And Cameron was trying to get hold of me, and I went back into Follies. So it was this wonderful, and I went back into Follies, and I played the part. I was understudying, so I went and played young Phyllis. Yeah, it was wonderful. It was an amazing experience.
How about having to wear a unitard? Was that wonderful?
Say again?
How about having to wear a unitard? Was that a wonderful experience?
The pink unitard. Yeah.
I mean,
my husband liked
people don't know what I mean. Take a look at this look.
I'm so ashamed of how we've all been treating Carrie White. Am I crazy? Am I getting too upset? I'd never dream of asking, but you've never failed me yet. Do me a favor. Oh, Billy.
Oh. Only upstage by Paul Kingel's dancing.
Holy cow. Charlotte, that's you in the red unitard. How did you get the gig?
I remember really wanting the part and auditioning and just doing the whole thing, you know what I mean? Dancing and singing and the whole, like a bunch of people. And they narrowed it down to 2 people. It was me and Mary Ellen Stewart, who I had done song and dance with. Actually, Betty, you might know her, song and dance with, and we were friends. And it was between the 2 of us, and she was pretty much the one they wanted. And I remember us actually having a final audition, going to Dean and Michael and singing, coming in and singing, and then us passing each other in the hallway going, you're next, It was just the 2 of us. Anyway, she got the part. I didn't. I was devastated. And then she called me up and she read the script and she was like, there are too many curse words. She was a born-again Christian, and the part had like too many curse words, and I was like, yes! I don't want cursing. So I got it, because she turned it down. It was good.
Oh my God. Well, check out this sexy outfit.
Do me a favor. Oh, Billy. What now, Chris? I've got something I want you to do for me. Why don't you ask your daddy? My daddy can buy me all the things that you want. My daddy supplies me with the things that you don't. There's nothing that daddy ever denies me. There's just one way that daddy never satisfies me. Only you can do it. Only you can really get down to it. This girl is desperate. Come on and save her. Baby, 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 do me a favor, oh baby. Do me a favor, say baby. Do me a favor, oh baby. Do me a favor.
Whoa! Oh my God. Fun.
That is not
Crazy.
So what was the actual rehearsal process like? It was almost like it was two different shows going on, right? It was like the kids in one room and then like Betty and Lindsay in another room. Who remembers what?
I remember dance warm-ups with Debbie Allen.
I bet.
They were rough. They were rough. And I do remember, I guess it was kind of separate. I remember when Betty came into the company, I just remember it was just that excitement of that thrill of her coming and, you know, just the show taking off to another level and us. And we actually, I think when Betty came, when we were on Broadway, it was much more, we were kind of more united in more rehearsals together. But I guess it was initially very kind of separate with the dancing and but everything was danced. You know, but Betty and Lindsay, you guys really had your scenes that were very separate. But I sort of remember it being all together a lot. You know, I don't know. Do you feel that way? Where are you, Betty? Betty and Lindsay?
Here. I remember doing the warm-ups or part of the warm-ups. I remember that. And I remember Debbie Allen making me run wind sprints across the room, back and forth in the rehearsal space, and then singing. And I recall that the last note of Eve Was Weak was a G. Or was it not a G, Michael?
It was an E. It was an E flat.
Come on, all these years I've been giving myself credit for that freaking G.
That's an amazing note.
We can that's not so
key up for you if you'd like.
It felt really hard. You what?
I said we can put the key up for you if you'd like.
No, thanks. So I just remember that was because of the physical fight, which was literally a physical fight that Lindsay and I had in that scene. And then I was choreographed or directed to come down off the house set and sing that last bit and nail that high note. And so Debbie made me run wind sprints and then sing the note to help me build the strength to do it. But one of my favorite visuals to this day in my whole life was like I opened the trap door, you know, and she sends this like fire up the wall, you know. Oh no, she does that after. And so, and I pushed Lindsay down into the trap, and she's caught when I throw her down there by this big burly stagehand. I wish I knew his name. He was so funny, and he would hold her by the legs like underneath the trap door, and she would hold on by her little fingers as I'm trying to close the door. But the visual of that while I'm singing and trying to maintain this like serious, dramatic intensity of Lindsay in this stage and holding her underneath the trap door. And then I would slam the door down and the fire would go up the side of the house. It was a very dramatic and intense scene, but I'll never forget that visual as long as I live. It was just extraordinary. As far as the rehearsals go, I requested that we work individually and alone with just Lindsay and me and the music director. And because I felt pretty strongly about how to approach this thing. And I knew I was going to be more athletic than what I'd seen on the video. And so that we had this intense time period alone. And Lindsay was amazing. I was just like, whatever I give you, just come back with everything you feel. And we just had this like give and take intensity, like playing tennis, that was just wild, so wild. And it was always spontaneous and always, you know, unique to the moment. And that was part of the joy of getting to work with her. And then I remember the day we took that work into the major rehearsal space with the rest of the cast. It was pretty exciting stuff, really exciting.
I'm just curious, Betty, how much of the show was just the two of you and Lindsay?
I don't know. Well, what do you guys think, Larry, Michael, Dean? We were like, it was a separate story from the high school.
Yeah. Almost like 50%, it seems like. I feel like so much of it was.
Wow.
What about Carrie is 50%. I mean, Carrie is 75, 80% of the show. And Carrie is with her mother, and Carrie is at school. And so there's an enormous arc for Carrie with the other kids and going home and with Margaret. Margaret is only at home. So we only find her when Carrie brings us home to her. But she's got 3 powerhouse numbers in Act 1 and 2 amazing big moments. These are not like, 8 bars and 4 bars and you're out. These are going on and on and on, these numbers.
I do remember.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, Bessie. I was just going to say, I do remember I feeling stronger in New York than I was in Stratford. That I think just sort of because I was just learning every day. I was just learning. I was like a sponge trying to take as much in. I knew nothing, I was so naive, and I think it was just a case of what anybody said. I just tried to take on, everybody's advice and listen and use my instinct as well. But I definitely think that I mean, vocally, my voice was still, it didn't know what it was doing. It was just trying to sort of serve the music as well as it could. And I think that definitely by the time I got to New York, and with the intensity that Betty gave me, it took me to another level, because and that's absolutely no disrespect to Barbara. I adored Barbara. She was an absolutely wonderful woman, performer. I feel so blessed that I got the opportunity to work with both Barbara and Betty, because I learned so much in my first job to have that opportunity with such incredible artists. But I have to be honest that, as soon as I was with Betty, it took on a different level. And I think it was because, Betty was so passionate about it and loved it, and we could see, we immediately clicked, didn't we, Betty? There was just something that we were just like, we just had a connection that was like, this could be very exciting, and we trusted each other. I think that was it. We just,
you as a young actress were just extraordinary, because you opened yourself to me and what I could share with you, which was like a huge blessing, a huge gift. And a lot of times kids that I've worked with, a lot of them at 16 or 17 years old, 17 more, don't have that capacity to be egoless and that level of trust and humility. And it's so extraordinary, those qualities. And you have the talent that you do as well. But it was so powerful, that work that we did together. And that music that you guys wrote, it's operatic in proportion. It's so beautiful. And I mean, it's just so stunning. And I was bound and determined that we were, I did the original workshop of Into the Woods. I played the witch. I was the original witch in the first workshop and the pre-Broadway workshop, and then ended up not going to Broadway with it, which to this day, I'm like, what was I thinking? But anyway, I didn't. But I remember doing this like portrait of an abusive mother that I was determined to do. And then I realized in retrospect only, that it was almost like those workshops of Into the Woods of playing the witch and bringing that level of intensity and strange distortion to the musical theater was kind of my pencil sketch for what I was ultimately able to bring because of doing Carrie. And it was startling to people, I think, the level of reality that we were able to bring to a musical stage.
Can I just share one quick behind the scenes moment? My husband Michael and I flew to London and to see Betty do an astonishing job in Dear World. And our plans were to go out to dinner afterwards, but what we didn't know was that she had surprised us. We went to the restaurant and we were joined by Lindsay. And so we had this mind-blowing reunion. But the reason I'm telling this story is because something came out that night that I'd never heard. I'd never heard this story. Because after the show opened, I had to fly back to California. I was not there when the show closed. And when the show closed, and so many people, especially our British cast members, had to go right back to London. They had to pack their bags and they had to go. Betty ran to Lindsay's side because she knew, as a mother does, that her child was going to be deeply affected by the closing of this show. I never knew that in the days following the closing of the show, Betty had gone to comfort Lindsay and sort of ease her out of the country. Is that correct?
You know, my stronger memory than that, Dean, actually is the final performance, and I sort of distinctly remember that after that, Betty took me back onto the stage and she said, "This isn't our fault, and actually, and you are going to be fine, and you are going to go on, and you're going to have a wonderful career, and don't think that this is your fault." And I, you know, and I will always remember that and always be grateful for it, because you know, it was traumatic. It was, there's no colouring the fact that actually you may as well have thrown the blood all over me, because that's how I felt. You know, it was an absolute Carrie moment where you're given such a wonderful opportunity and it's so cruelly taken away. And the journey that I had to go on personally, and we all had different journeys, and I appreciate that. You know, everybody's you know, journey on the Carrie experience is all very different. But for my personal journey, at the age of 17, to handle that has stayed with me forever. And I'm just quite, it's cathartic that now it's celebrated. You know, I like to think of it now as the most successful flop on Broadway, rather than you know, the most catastrophic, which, you know, for years you're having to sort of almost justify the work that you did, and I always knew that particularly the work that me and Betty did in New York was freaking brilliant. You know, we were so proud of it, and it was hard to sort of always feel as though you felt a bit embarrassed by, oh, you were Carrie, or, you know, it sort of, it stays with you for a long time, and I think that's a shame. And I'm just pleased that actually now it's gone on, and it's had another life, and it, you know, and it's now a celebrated piece in, you know, in all different sort of forms, which is great, really.
You know, what most people don't know, because, you know, it all happened behind the scenes, and it was out of, you know, Mel Brooks, the producers. I mean, you know, it was one of the issues we had is that on a lot of the early projects that we worked on, you know, my first project, I received, you know, great acclaim for it. And I believe I did a good job, but the bottom was we were surrounded by experts. Alan Parker, as you know, who just passed away, you know, a few days ago. I mean, these were people who knew exactly what to do, who knew how to guide me, who knew how to guide us, who had great producers. And unfortunately, you know, we were novices, and we really did not have that team around us to put together people who really knew what to do with this kind of show. So just as an example, we opened on a Thursday night. We had one hand from Frank Rich, but we had the equivalent absolute rave from Clive Barnes in the New York Post. And all of the reviews started coming down that way, from reviews that were not good to reviews that were absolutely incredible. And he had already gone back to LA. Larry and I went to the matinee on Saturday, and our producer, who, because our Broadway producers fell out, we found this German producer who had a lot of money and wanted to produce the show. Again, very little experience. So he came to the theater and he said, you know, we're going to make a go of it. We're gonna make this run. I've got ideas. We're going to get Lindsay Hateley to do a radio commercial saying, I'm Carrie. Some people hate me. Some people love me. You've got to come to the theater and make your mind up for yourself. And in fact, he sent Larry home to work on the radio commercial. That was at the matinee on Saturday. We came back for the evening performance. The notice had been posted. In the interim, our German producer closed the bank accounts, closed his office, got on a private plane back to Hamburg, Germany. And when there was literally, starting on Monday morning, there was no money to pay anybody. There was no money to pay cash. He closed the bank accounts. He closed it up. So, there are times when a show doesn't work and it has, it runs for a period of time or it runs out. We were just really hit by, it wasn't funny to us in those days, but it was out of Mel Brooks. I mean, it was just unbelievable. We really didn't have a choice. The show closed because the show had to close because it left the country. And we scampered last minute on Monday to try to get Sam to put other money into it, and nobody could make it work. And that was the end of the show for that period of time.
Because it's not like you were playing to an empty theater, right? I mean, right.
No, the audiences, we were paying.
It was packed every night. People could not get tickets. It's my theory that if we had the wherewithal, and because I remember when you guys told me after the matinee, we came back from our dinner break, and everybody said, before we left our dinner break, it's going to go. He's got some money coming in to promote it from Bruce Mailman. Remember him from The Saint? And we're going to push through because we've got a balance of rave reviews with the other reviews, and we're going to do an ad. We're going to go. It's a go. So I was all relieved. And then we came back for the evening show, and the closing notice had been posted. And I called my brother and I said, if you want to see this, you've got to fly now. So he took the red eye so he could see the last performance on Sunday. And
that was another thing that was so cruel to have to deal with, to sort of be told, the night before that you're coming off the next day. I mean, it just, I look back at it now and it amazes me the treatment of the way we were treated. I just think was pretty awful, actually.
Well, how about for the creative team to not be told by the producers that this was happening, that they were gone, and we never had another word with them ever again. It was over. It wasn't like they sat us down in the room and said, guys, we've got money problems. We can't run the show. We can't do this. I mean, that's what would have been expected. It was just a fait accompli.
The stupid thing was that the audience's response was one of the wildest responses I've ever experienced in my life. I mean, there were standing ovations every night. People would talk to us during the show. Guys would come in costume and recite lines with us. And I was really like, you know what, this thing, if they can push it past, it's going to be like Rocky Horror Picture Show. It's going to be an event. It's way beyond just performance. It's going to be this event that people have to go to. I was sure that it could have had the legs to go. I know it could have. Sorry.
Charlotte?
And I have to say, I know so many people that literally we ran 2 weeks. That's including opening, right? Opening and previews. And people saw it 2 times. Like I would see people and they was like, oh, I saw Gore, I saw it twice. I'm like, you saw it we only ran it for 2 weeks. How did you see it twice? Like they were crazy, obsessed. And people came back already in that 2 weeks that we ran it. It was insane.
And the material itself, Carrie, evokes such a depth of feeling in people because everybody went to high school and everybody has a version of Carrie inside their own experience somehow. And it was just like we were doing this very realistic work, and then there was like this another style of work being done by the high school group, and it didn't mesh because Terry didn't know how to make that mesh. He had no sense of the Americana of the story. But I'll tell you what, it was lit because Terry Hand started out as a master lighting designer. He was one of the best lighting designers in the world. And some of that stuff was just it was extraordinarily beautiful. The lighting and the presentation of the show. But it was 2 different shows that had no cohesive style.
What was it like? I was saying, what was it like working with Gene Anthony Ray? Because he did the movie Fame, and then Charlotte, you got to play opposite him. What was he like?
He was, I was just thinking about him, actually. I've been thinking about him a lot. God bless him, I miss him. I got on with him great, but he struggled a lot. He was going through a lot of stuff, and I think he struggled a lot. And then I was just thinking, about Do Me a Favor. and you're out there, and I'm out there, and the poor guy's dancing his butt off, and he's all in black. You don't see him. I was thinking, that would maybe upset me if I were him. I just realized that just now. I was like, you and I are like these bright colors, and anyway. But I loved working with him, but he was troubled, and he had issues, and he wasn't used to doing 8 shows a week. I don't know if he would have survived, honestly, if we really ran. Because he had a hard show. I had a hard show. I mean, we all had hard shows, right?
I don't know if any of us would have survived. I don't know if Lindsay and I
would have survived. I remember thinking, oh my God, wow, you know what I mean? It was full on. We were full on, all of us.
Do you remember we had all of us? I was going to say, do you remember we used to be given new pieces of script at like 15?
Yeah.
You come in with like, and us two would be in the dressing room together, like testing each other on our lines. And I was thinking when we were in Stratford, I sang a song called White Star. And then when we got to Broadway, you wanted to change Sue's ballad. And I remember we would be rehearsing and we'd get to that bit and then you'd say, or Terry would say, and this is Sue's new song. And then the next week it would be, we'd do a run and then and this is Sue's new song. And then, no, we got into the theatre and still no song. And then I think it was, we were just about to start tech and still no song. And somebody came up to me and they said, Sally, you need to sit in the stalls. And it honestly felt like I was in one of those old black and white Broadway MGM musicals. And Dean, I was in the dark on my own and I could hear Debbie Allen and Terry Hands. I guess you guys, you must have been down there as well. And Dean, I remember you running through the stalls with one sheet of paper. And you ran straight past me, and then I could hear you playing this song down in the Virginia Theatre. Down there was like a piano by the bar. It was amazing. It was such an amazing experience.
That's right. I remember you singing that, and it was right during tech for the first time.
I mean, I could never do that now. I had to learn it in like a day.
I couldn't do it now either. Oh my God! But that's amazing. I mean, and what a gorgeous song that was.
And on the first night of The Last Ship, which I did at the Neil Simon, one of the girls in the show, she came in and she said, "Hey Sally, what's it like to be in your first Broadway show?" And I said, "Well, actually, it's not. It's my second." And she said, "Well, what do you mean?" I said, "I was in this show called Carrie." She said, "What, are you kidding? Everyone knows Carrie." I said, "But I can't remember what the theatre. I know it was the Virginia, but I don't know where." She went, "Come here." Window, and honestly, I've got shivers going up my arms now. She said, "That was the Virginia," and we were at the Neil Simon, and obviously now it's the what's it called now? The
August Wilson.
August Wilson.
August Wilson. And she said that was your theatre. It was such a great moment.
Wow. For the sake of the historical record, the song that we wrote in New York was "It Hurts to Be Strong."
Yeah.
And you just nailed it.
Nailed it.
Well, I finally got it. No, but it was such an amazing moment. I will never forget you running through, and it was literally a sheet of paper. It was brilliant.
That was our fault. We were hiding under the covers for about 2 weeks and wouldn't come out and wouldn't do anything. We were like freaked out, you know.
Yeah.
But this all worked out great.
Well, speaking of Gene, I have the clip, and speaking of what you can't do today, I mean, like Gene's dancing is so unbelievable. And then Charlotte, you and Sally are like so 80s. It's amazing. Check this out. But Gene is like Batman. Check this out.
You always amaze me with the way that you think. If I was your daddy, I would buy you a string. But okay, I'll do it. You're my inspiration. Just make sure you show me that appreciation. I know I can do it. Step down to it. Just come on and save her. Baby, do me a favor.
Wow.
Yeah.
So
Great.
I
Love that song.
congratulate you. We now have run longer than our show actually did, and that's saying something, that we have enough to say about it. You know.
I mean, by the way, one more thing I have to show Charlotte. Your gym class, I don't know what gym class includes someone doing like a 45-second center combination. Like, what are you learning in that gym class? When Debbie showed that to you, were you like, we don't do this in gym class?
Okay, well, first of all, that number, I mean, we had to belt that number and sing, I mean, full on high belting and doing aerobics like I have never, I just watched it recently again. I can't even believe it. And then I had that big solo with the end of the number. Yeah, which, by the way, changed from Stratford, because I saw the original one. I didn't do all those walkovers, but in the Broadway, Debbie was like, oh, let's add some more for you. So I did like 12 walkovers. You know,
but you were doing a full Chita Rivera, foot to the back of the head.
Yeah.
I've literally never done this in gym class.
Keep it tight, keep it tight, keep those muscles high. Shame on you, overweight the sin. Make it so, keep those bodies thinking. Keep those bodies thinking.
Yeah, it got more difficult when we went to New York. We added like 6 walkovers at the end of it, and another forte turns.
Can we just say Darlene Love?
Darlene Love.
Gym teacher.
Not Darlene Love.
And my memory really of the last show of Carrie, one of my memories is the fact that she knew it was the last show and she could do what she wanted because no one was going to stop her, and she sung the hell out of that
song. And Lilius White was the understudy.
Right.
With the dress, I remember just hanging with Lilius White backstage all the time. Oh my God. Lilius White.
And when we used to do that, when we rehearsed that number in the rehearsal room, I am not kidding you. I remember lying on the floor and stage management used to come up and lift my head and pass me water. Brown water for people and fanning up. It was crazy.
It's crazy.
How you did that, I do not know.
I don't know either. I don't know.
So can I add to this that Lilius White not only covered Darlene Love's part, Lilius White covered Margaret.
Oh, I never knew that.
And when Lilius White joined the show, we went to Stratford, and after the show, we would go out afterwards, and there was a pub that we would hang out in. And Lilius, who had not been working all day, she's just sitting around like resting her pipes. She and the musical director would get up at the piano in the corner, and Lilius White would sing to us, to the crew and the cast, until they throw us out of the pub.
Oh my God.
Wow. That is fantastic. Oh, I love Lilius White. Wow.
Me too.
I want to talk about the stunning Betty Buckley, Lindsay, Hateley song, The Evening Prayer. When did you guys, write that?
Oh my God.
So beautiful. Did you write it early on in the writing, or was it later on?
It was pretty early on in the writing. I mean, it was an Act 1 numbers, and we went in. We started with "Any Was Weak," but then we went back and then we ran in order. It's actually one of my favorite pieces of music in the show. So I love it. It's just a sort of magical piece for me, and they did a beautiful job with it. It's so great.
Well, also, this number is a lot of cutting back and forth between Carrie and Margaret, and there's book that's being accomplished. And so I think Michael and Larry and I decided that we would try to break the back of this style that we had to forge ahead and create. I mean, a song was one thing, but this very theatrical format was going to be a big challenge for us.
You know what? I just have to say, I think if it was, I wish we'd all had the presence of mind to get it shot before it was all over. I mean, shot really well, because there's really groundbreaking work, musically, performance-wise, everything in the piece. It's amazing.
And what about a recording? It would have been nice had we had a recording, to document everybody's work on the show. That was one of the saddest things for me, that it closed so quickly, and the record company, which I think was Columbia Records, understandably pulled out because there was no show to support the cast album. But it was a blow.
Wow.
Lindsay, what did you want to say?
I was going to say that I sort of distinctly remember the end of that particular bit that me and Betty did as well. That I'm sure it was Betty that came up with the idea, because she came up with most of them, to be fair. But there was almost like a sort of a role reversal where you sort of had Eve was weak, where obviously Betty was very much in charge and being abusive, and the end of the scene is her sort of taking control and abusing Carrie. But actually the scene after that, which was so beautifully sort of executed, was that Betty has this amazing vulnerability, so it almost became as though I became the mother, and sort of it was amazing to sort of be on stage with her, because the tears and the snot and everything that was going on was just like full on, and we ended the scene where I was almost sort of helping her off the stage, because she was so devastated as to what had happened in the scene before, and it was just really beautifully done. Well done, Betty.
Thank you. Well done, Lindsay. Well done.
I mean, and Dean, you really understand the abuser, because she's singing, I'd rather die than see you suffer. Someday you'll thank me for lighting the way. Like, she really believes she's doing the right thing. She's not like, oh, I'm getting a kick out of beating my child. Like, you make her sympathetic because she thinks she's doing the right thing. I mean, that's why Betty was able to get our hearts, because she wasn't evil. She was just misguided.
Well, it's true. The truth of what Dean and the gentleman wrote is that it's an accurate portrait of an abusive mother with this abused child, because often in the dynamic of that relationship, the abuser is then very sorry and asks for forgiveness, and he's like this helpless child, because basically the abuser is this child who, this grown-up who's aberrational, her background experience has caused her to freeze in time, and she's not a full adult. There's just this incredible pain and longing for love that she never received, and then so she reenacts what she experienced on the child. That's like a true thing. So I honestly think part of the reason people had such extreme responses to it is that we as a culture didn't have all that information quite yet, and weren't ready to see it in the form of musical theater, and have it sear people's souls that way. In fact, my brother, when he came in on the red eye, and I said, tell me what it is, and he said, well, Betty Lynn, he said, you and Lindsay are just opening people's souls up to the, and Priscilla Lopez came to see the show too, and she came backstage and she said, every abusive experience you had as a kid, or every emotionally steering experience, you guys are invoking in all of us. But the director doesn't know how to handle the transition then back to the high school, where there's such steering, the whole style is different. So Norman told me, he said, the show does then, or the direction of the show didn't allow us as an audience to be taken care of once our souls were open so widely and sensitive. And I think that at the core of it is what was difficult in terms of the stylistic thing. But there's nothing wrong with the piece. You guys refined some stuff when I saw the revival. It's not the piece. It's the way it was done with these two distinctively different styles.
But all that said, there's so many wonderful things in it. If it hadn't been for that producer, it would have lasted who knows how long.
I think so. I'm sure of it. Yeah.
I think there would have been a shot at running it. I mean, there were certainly, look, we were young We were inexperienced. We didn't have a lot of experienced people around us. The producer we ended up with was not experienced. He had produced an Andrew Lloyd Webber show in Bochum, Germany, and that was his sort of claim to fame. We had a director who didn't really understand America and didn't understand high school. But that said, there were wonderful things in the show. And I think had they been able to run it, I think there was enough good in the show, certainly with this cast in front of us, you know, tonight, to be able to keep it going. So that was the big disappointment, that we just never had the option to be able to do it.
Here, I'm going to show
I believe
something.
that thoroughly.
Yeah, I'm going to show some of that evening prayer. And poor Lindsay, I don't know how you dealt with Betty belting an E flat right above you. I mean, it's so powerful. You guys sound amazing together. Listen to this.
I never wanted to cause you such pain, but there are times when life is so frightening. Maybe I do things that I can't explain, but my feelings for you never change. You are still my precious one. Can you forgive what I've done?
Here you are.
You don't know I was wrong, and it hurts me to have to hurt you. I'd rather die than see you suffer. I'm sorry you left me running away to bless you now inside your heart. Inside your heart, that's where forgiveness. Oh, Mama, show me.
Oh, wow.
I just need to say something. I mean, Lindsay, that was so beautiful. That footage that you just witnessed was Barbara with Lindsay. That's not how they staged it, but it's
It was my voice and Barbara's body.
It's my vocal with Lindsay's vocal, but that's Barbara in the.
That is so funny. All right, someone did an attach. All right, so it's different physicality, but it's your belting. But this is definitely you, because we got to show this, because we got to leave really soon. But this is the Eve. This is the Eve with week that you were talking about, where you would shove her into the thing and the stage hand was underneath. I'm obsessed with this. This is a brilliant number. Lindsay, you're amazing. It's devastating. Betty, you're amazing, and it's so thrillingly written. Here we go.
Mama, I was so scared.
That's Barbara too?
That's Barbara. It might switch. I don't know if it'll switch, but that's Barbara in the video. It's like.
And listen to the damn vocals, because they're amazing.
Mama, I was so scared, and they all stared. I thought I was dying. I started crying. Mama, please don't. You'll become Satan's blood. Mercy, get down on your knees. You're the Jezebel's touch. Soul is a hole of disease. I can see you inside. Don't believe when you're I can see how you lie. But I never told you. That's how Lucifer fell. Mama, how could I know? And you're headed for hell. I won't let you go. Satan loves a sinner. I'm not a sinner. Simon's broken, burning. God, she's burning. Prayer, he will and I was weak. I prayed this day would never come. I should have known. I should have known. Now I'm alone and so afraid. Oh Lord, I've seen this power before. The flesh is weak and I am Lord. Father, don't forsake her. Father, take her. Cleanse us, purify her with the fire and the power and the glory forever and ever and ever.
Wow.
Oh,
Betty
wow.
Buckley. Literally the best performance I've ever seen on the stage.
Thank
Really, seriously, Betty.
Thank you.
That was thrilling to watch again.
You guys. Sorry, what did you say?
It's just that was thrilling, Betty, to watch again. I mean, I've seen the clips of it, but wow, that was a wow.
Thank you. That's
Lindsay.
I was able to do that because Debbie Allen made me run the wind sprints.
Yeah, wind sprints.
Oh man.
Debbie Allen.
Lindsay, what is it like to watch yourself as a teenager?
It's, I don't know, it's funny time, isn't it? You know, you sort of, there's certain things about the whole experience that still seem as clear today as, you know, as they were. But then, I don't know, I've got a 21-year-old daughter now, and when she sort of hit 17, I was like, oh my God, I can't believe what I did at 17, just because I see how much she's still got to grow, you know, and I don't know, it's what it is. I'm grateful for it. It's, you know, it put me on the map.
Good.
I'm really, really grateful for it. I'm so grateful. The whole experience was just such a blessing. My God. I mean, to plunge, to take here what you've been practicing as an art form for so many years and have material and companions in the theatrical setting where you can dig that deep and reveal that much of everything you've learned about life and humanity and put it out there like that, which is terrifying, but at the same time, such a gift, such a gift. Like who knew Dean was on Broadway that you're going to write that, right? It's amazing. It's so amazing.
And it's very cathartic. It's very cathartic to be able to do this sort of thing, and I just think it's you know, it's lovely that it is now celebrated in the way that it is.
And deserves to be. It's an amazing show, gentlemen.
Before we wrap up, because of course Michael was talking about there not being a cast recording, but Charlotte, there's a story about why there's a video recording, right? A partial one with Scott Wise.
I don't know that story.
Oh, I do. I'll handle it.
All right, Seth, help. I thought you would know, Charlotte.
No, when the show was closing, he was like, "This is crazy." It wasn't filmed from Lincoln Center, so he got his old camcorder and basically masking taped it to the balcony, and he filmed it. But it was from a half hour, so there's like a half hour footage of the whole audience because he had to go backstage at half hour of the audience coming in, and then it just films from that vantage point, and then the battery lasted until intermission. But all of Act 1 that's out there is because Scott Wise taped his camera there.
And it's up. I know because a lot of the footage is up.
Yes.
That is hilarious.
His
God,
old camcorder.
footage.
I tried to get Scott for tonight. All right, so this is the final thing. Before we go, we have one final surprise. Lindsay Hateley, she did this from London. Thank you, Lindsay Hateley. And this is her reaction to somebody calling her Cassie.
That's not my name. Doesn't anybody ever get it right? Carrie, why don't they remember that I'm Carrie White? Carrie, when did everybody decide I'm the one who's the flop? If I had a wish, God, I wish they'd stop. I will not cry. I'm okay. I tried so hard to play their way. Why do they find it so hard to say? Carrie, why do they always treat me so bad? They all know my name, it's Carrie. I don't know why they all get so mad. It's always the same. I wish I was blessed with someone who's not like the rest. I close my eyes and suddenly he'd be there. Handsome and wise and probably a prince.
God.
I can't hear anything. I can't hear. It's gone.
Lindsay, no, your thing went out. Come back. Hold on. You have to come back. Hold on. I'm gonna kick her out.
Before we
hold on.
We can't end the show with Lindsay not being able to hear us.
Back on.
Especially considering it's now what, 3 a.m.
Yeah, I know.
We can't have her not hear us.
Oh my God, Seth, you have to tell her she still got it like you do.
She still got it. Oh my God, that was so exciting. So guys, in conclusion, everybody loves your show. I mean, isn't it nice now, Larry, Michael, and Dean, that like the show's being done all over the world?
You know, it is. It's one of the gratifying things. I feel very lucky that we were given a second chance on the show. There were a lot of things that, you know, just, again, very short, but we wrote Act 1. We got a chance to put it up and see it down at 890. Act 2, we wrote it the first time, and it was up at the Royal Shakespeare Company. Wow. We never had a chance to look at it, to rewrite it, to reconsider, to write other options for it, and then, you know, and then the show was gone. So we feel blessed that we got another shot at it. We were able to do a lot of work on Act 2 and a lot of rewriting that made the show and integrate both the sort of mother-daughter and the high school, the operatic and the high school, and bring them closer together. What's great is, and this is maybe a testament to Steve King, which is in the times we're living in, this show has really hit a pulse with bullying and a lot of the other themes. And we've had over 600 productions worldwide. I mean, huge productions in Barcelona, in Sydney, Australia, in Melbourne, in Manila. In all just unbelievable places all over the world, plus high schools and colleges. And that's really been a rewarding thing, that we can look back on it and we still get a lot of people who go, you know, we love the show. And that's been great. And it's all started with you guys. So, you know, we're grateful.
Thank you guys for doing it.
You get your praise, Lindsay. You got this, you got a woo, you got a beautiful, you got a she still got it, you got I can't breathe, and most importantly, you got this.
It's 3 a.m. here in London.
And I've got my pajamas on.
Oh my gosh. Thank you, everyone.
Oh, what a night, guys. Thank you all. Thanks for your incredible talent that you shared with us. Thank you.
Back at you.
Thanks for doing it. This was a wonderful night.
Bye.
Here comes
to all of you. Thank you.
Okay.
Yes, I'll play. I have to see if I remember this.